President Trump is dropping new hints that he won't protect the integrity of this country's elections, even as we approach 2020. In a bilateral meeting with Russian leader Vladimir Putin at the G20 summit over in Japan right now, President Trump actually joked publicly about the Kremlin's attack on our democracy in 2016. Here's what he said when asked by NBC whether he told Putin not to meddle in the 2020 election. Here's how he reacted. Well, Trump's latest comments are reminiscent of his remarks at the Helsinki here last year when he contradicted his own government and denied Russia's interference in 2016 directly. It also comes after Trump told ABC News this month that if offered foreign dirt on a political opponent looking forward, he'd take it. But that's not all. The president also appeared to commiserate with Putin by knocking the press as the fake news. That exchange, which is difficult to hear, was captured by Russian state TV before the United States media entered the room. Here goes.
He's so tall.
I'm joined now by David Corn, Washington Bureau Chief for Mother Jones, and Charlie Sykes, Editor-in-Chief of The Bulwark. Charlie, I don't think you can capture this in satire. I don't think anybody's seen anything like it. Here he is, a guy who grew up like we did in the Cold War, who knows what the Russians are all about, knows what the KGB is all about. They know what Vladimir Putin is coming from. Yeah. And we know what Soviet media is, government-controlled, bossed by the government. You screw around, you're dead. And there he is chuckling with this guy about our free media compared to Russian state-controlled media, like you don't have fake media. It's beyond vomit material. Your thoughts?
No, it is, and there's no historical parallel for this. I mean, a lot of us thought Helsinki was the bottom, but with this president, there is no bottom. So here you have the president of the United States joking and making fun of this whole issue. Look, this is something that I think we ought to understand, that the president not only thinks that he was vindicated, that he got away, let me put it this way, that he got away with the Russian conspiracy, that he was vindicated by the Mueller report, which, of course, he was not. And because of that, he's making light of it. This is one of the reasons why the Democrats in Congress need to move ahead more aggressively, because this is a president who, number one, is making light of it, but he's also sending a signal to the world, and he's sending a signal to Vladimir Putin that in fact, he's not taking this seriously, that he's treating it like a joke, and that he's not going to aggressively protect the integrity of next year's election. And that in itself might be an impeachable offense.
Well, here's a couple questions. Making fun of how many Russians were indicted by the Mueller report, the whole operation, 25 or something?
Yeah, 24.
So he's denying all that.
Well,
that the Russians were trying to screw with our elections. I mean,
he's, stunned silence doesn't work well on TV, so I will have to come up with some words here. Yeah. But, he's been saying from the beginning, remember, throughout the campaign, even after it was announced by the U.S. government that Russia was doing this, he kept saying, no, they're not. He aided and abetted the attack with his own lies and denials, and that comes through in the Mueller report. Yeah. And he just simply has never taken this seriously because, as you've said before, he played ball, he winked at them, he said, go ahead, get those
He's doing it right here.
And he's doing it right here.
This is a love story.
Again and again. And the thing is, the House Democrats need to do something. Charlie is right, and I can't believe that I always agree with him these days, but he gets away with this because not a single Republican comes out and says, Mr. President, you are wrong, you need to protect the election, and you're putting our own journalists at risk too. No one complains. He's leading a cult, and he gets to say whatever he wants to protect himself.
Charlie used to drive me crazy when somebody like Nightline in the old days would put somebody on from Russia, so-called media commentary. There's no free commentary in Russia. It's all controlled by the state. It's a communist country, basically, when it comes. They don't have a First Amendment. And here's Trump laughing with Vlad about our media and saying, you don't have this problem. What does that mean?
Also, keep in mind that in
Russia, what's it mean to Republicans?
They murder journalists. I mean, this is part of the problem of and I'm sorry to use the term normalization, that we've become numb to all of this. We've become numb to this outrage. We've been numbed to how he behaves on the national stage. So in Russia, Vladimir Putin murders journalists. So this is This is absolutely stunning. Now, at least Justin Amash is the one Republican who's been willing to stand up against this. But unless Congress moves aggressively to say, look, we don't think this is a joke, then the president's going to continue to brush it off. And so but by the way, Chris, I'm glad that you're devoting a segment to this so that we don't spend the entire day, the entire news cycle, talking about the Democrats' circular firing squad, because we still have a president of the United States who is not fulfilling his #1 constitutional responsibility, which is to protect this country from its enemies.
Well, you know what? I'd rather celebrate a true Democratic event like last night's debate here than this hell. But I want to ask you about this MBS thing. During the G20 summit that's going on right now over Japan, President Trump had a friendly moment with Saudi Crown Prince, guess who, MBS, Mohammed bin Salman, who appeared center stage with Trump during the traditional photographs of world. Then he had to get another Bobsy twin here. And the Washington Post notes it's a far cry from the isolation the Crown Prince faced at the previous summit last November in the wake of the Jamal Khashoggi killing. David, again, backing the question of a free press. If they don't like a reporter, they chop them up and put them in boxes or whatever they do with them.
And Trump is fine with that. He's fine with Duterte in El Salvador, with Erdogan in Turkey, with Kim, of course, in North Korea. He likes authoritarians. He likes autocrats. Why? He has no values. There was a transcript that came out this week of Rex Tillerson being grilled by the House Foreign Affairs Committee. They asked him, what are the president's values? Can you describe his values? He said, I cannot, because he has one value, Trump. And that's why all this, he gets away with all this
we're going to get to this later because we've got E.G. Coming on this later in the show. But here's a president, it's unbelievable what goes on. Lindsey Graham said if Trump denies it, it didn't happen. I mean, that's how the Republican Party behaves, Charlie, right now. All it takes is a denial. And that didn't happen. It's like it says something. It's a notion of metaphysics. It didn't actually happen because he said it didn't happen. What reality is that, Charlie?
Well, that's
a
reality.
Weird new notion.
Well, this is what I think Hannah Arendt described as the annihilation of truth, that after a while, the point of lies isn't necessarily to make you believe one thing or another. It's to make you doubt the existence of truth or the existence or your ability to use your critical thinking to determine what is true. And that's we are in that moment right now where we're all part of Donald Trump's pathology. But this is not a personality quirk alone. This is a president of the United States who is dangerous. And David's point about his fascination with authoritarian thuggery is really crucial here, that Donald Trump clearly has this fascination with people like Putin, with people like MBS, and the disdain for our closest allies. Look, this has real consequences, and at some point, somebody like Lindsey Graham has to understand what this means for our role in the world, because there are consequences to those sorts of things.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.